Thank you for joining us again on the Unlearning Curve. I'm Stuart Deloney, joined as always by Karl the Great. I don't know which way I'm pointing now. Karl the Great and JD Forehand, Jordan. It's a place where we talk about anything from mental health to faith, deconstruction, and really politics, whatever else is kind of interesting us at the time. If you want to reach out to us, you can email us at theunlearningcurvepodcast@gmail.com. In our past couple sessions, we've been talking about similar topics. I think we're going to go quite in a similar direction for this one, too. And mine was, I want to start talking about kind of prepackaged faith. And it comes from an article I'd written where the basis, or I guess the analogy in my article is simply around scientists wanted to study what happens if we just keep cloning mice. Like take one mouse, clone it, and then clone that one, and clone that one. And so eventually, and seeing what was going to happen. And everything held together for so many generations of this, where the mice would be fine, they were viable. And then at a certain point, they started noticing that even though they seemed fine and everything looked fine, the mice would start to only be able to live a certain amount of hours, to where then at a certain point, they weren't even able to reproduce anymore from this. And so it was just the breakdown of something that was handed over and over and over and over to them. And my point, bringing this back to it, is I think that our faith happens like that to us a lot of times. We're handed things without ever really being given tools to examine what we are doing and what we're believing. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know. At what point did you guys start to realize this, that some parts of our faith were being copied by someone else? They weren't ones that we had forged on our own.
I would say listening to a lot of different pastors going around, and then also I listened to, like, don't ask me why my weird ass did this, but like I would like go ride around in my truck and like listen to like the Christian radio stations, like whatever had Focus on the Family, or Focus on the Family, but also Adventures in Odyssey. And then sometimes I would be extra brutal to myself and I would listen to the Catholic radio station to hear what they had to say. But like point being is you'd hear just a lot of people saying the same thing. Even between like the Christian radio and the Catholic radio, or the Christian preachers I would watch, it would be, you would just hear like word for word explanations, and then like, it was very cookie cutter. So I think probably when I was 15 or 16, I started kind of seeing that idea of just like a copy of a copy type thing.
So wait, were you listening to this for fun, or like were you like
it was like,
I'm a good little Christian kid and I want to grow? Or were you like,
to be fair, no, it wasn't really that. It was more like, it was kind of, I don't even know if it was like a full mockery. There would be times when I would be like, oh, fuck, come on. But there was, a lot of it was just like, I wanted to know more about it. Like I had, I was in Bible study and stuff, but I wanted to hear like from different, like what different people had to say. Because like, most of the time I was listening to my dad preach. So it was like, I had heard him preach for probably a decade at that point.
He's fortunate.
He is.
Right.
Yeah,
he's very
super
blessed.
Lucky. So super lucky about that. But so I wanted to see what perfection didn't look like for a little bit. So I went to the radio.
Good save.
But I think it was kind of investigatory. I think towards the later end it was more mockery. But you also have to remember I was driving around a 90 Ford Ranger that literally only had a tape deck in it. So I had to use one of those tapes that goes to the 3.5 millimeter jack thing. And then sometimes that would break, and it was like, okay, well, I'll just listen to like AM Christian Psychos for a couple hours. That should be entertaining.
Just young sycophant JD van.
Yeah. And just I'm a real masochist.
So we were involved in a multi-level marketing thing when we were in Texas. JD was born in Texas, and then we moved to Omaha, and it kind of faded out.
So you acquired JD through multi-level marketing?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a good scheme right there. You lucked out.
It is.
I got the bonus, yeah. So
you got
sorry.
Get it out.
In that group, one of their favorite sayings was, keep it duplicatable. Keep it they'd say KISS, keep it simple, stupid, and follow the system, right? And come to find out the system was really not selling products. It was these rallies and big events they did that made the speakers a lot of money. But they'd say keep it simple, keep it duplicatable so that you can teach it to someone else and they can duplicate it. And so we went into ministry with that experience. And by default or by teaching or by just inheriting whatever, I mean, that's kind of the way you approach ministry. So you focus on the simple, duplicatable things that people can understand and people can spout to someone else even if they don't understand it. And as long as we keep it simple, well, just trust God. Well, God's ways are not our ways. Well, and so you have those simple answers that don't really prove anything, but it's duplicatable, right? And as long as it's simple and everybody understands it and you keep going over the same things, you can build an organization of people and they feel secure because it's simple, it's duplicatable, and if you don't agree, you just don't understand, and stay out there and we'll stay in here. So I don't know if I'm even talking to your...
No, I think what you're saying, I love that. Like, the less you think, the better of cog you are in the wheel for our system.
But
I think it
declines, though, over time.
Yeah, I was going to say, just to Stuart's point in the article, is
Yeah.
eventually it dies. It can't. You can't subsist like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's like you're the last guy in the human centipede. You're not getting much nourishment anymore. You're just kind of stuck there. And
That's why they throw money, though, into music programs, the lighting, the sound, everything to make you feel better. So that you'll stay and come back and keep filling the seat, but also hopefully influencing the influencers, is what my friend says, so that you can, influence others and get them to accept the simple thing that they can reproduce.
And it's funny when we give them the simple thing, I feel like with faith, it's almost like we're giving them the entire journey of their life and faith. Like almost they've done nothing, but we already map it out for them, and we tell them this is exactly how it's going to go. You already know where you're going to end up in the end. You're on the winning side, and it's
it's certain.
Yeah,
Right.
And it'll completely change and modify everything about how you experience life on this planet moving forward when you do that, because you automatically just have blinders towards reality and everything else that's around you. And even yourself, it teaches us, we've talked about this before, to be less. Like, I need to be less of me and more of Jesus.
Yeah.
And
whatever that means.
What does that even mean? That's okay. I don't even know, but it always sounds good when it's preached.
Yeah, and it just
Terminating cliche.
That's a great point. And they could say, I was having a discussion with a lady the other day, an actual discussion. She's talking about being happy and feeling joy. And I said, well, my supposition to her was, I think it's better to be content. It's better, I think, than happiness or joy, whatever that means. Because again, joy means Jesus first, others second, myself last. That doesn't really benefit me in the long run. I just become a servant to the church and the pastor, usually more than Jesus. I don't take care of myself, those kind of things, and happiness then becomes, this person speaks in a baby voice a lot. It's one of those people that touches you, and then a lot and talks a lot and then speaks in the baby voice when she wants to convince you of something and so on.
So this one, since, honesty from Karl and from JD here, like since Laura's not around and you guys can be honest.
She just poked her head in.
Oh, she's on the case, Stuart.
I can see her arm. I know I'm going to. So, and you guys, since you're alone and can speak in this accountability group, and we can be honest amongst men, did Laura did she have the church, the church wife voice? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like where they how women just have the church wife voice, where it's a lot higher and it's more compliant, and yeah.
I think all parties concerned, we should let her answer that, maybe.
No.
No,
Laura, did you do that?
Probably.
Okay.
Probably did. If I'm being honest, when I look at Michelle Duggar, I'm like, oh, I wasn't like that. But there are a lot of other ways that I was very compliant and didn't speak up when, I thought things were not as they should be. But I think there was always in the back of my mind, and I've shared this with Karl, like I don't want to be the one to like destroy his ministry. Although I probably was. So
it sometimes
High
becomes
five.
a lot of oh, so good to see you at church. I hate that bitch. You know, it's kind of that mindset sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'd hear about it at home. You know, but I wouldn't, hold that against Laura because
No. But it's
it's
conditioning.
kinda,
It's
I
a
mean,
conditioning
yeah,
thing
and
too.
oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I'm not holding.
just
Yeah.
she's stuck in that position. You know, pastors' wives are just stuck in that dilemma all the time.
Looking back, because like listening to your last segment, and regulation and all that stuff, like that was one thing, JD, that I do a lot in my classroom is like if I get triggered by something, why did that trigger me? Like I want to know,
Yeah.
like there's something that's causing me to want to fly off the handle or become dysregulated or whatever. So I like to do a lot of kind of reflection on that. But I do think that looking back at like my childhood and some of the stuff you talked about in your last segment, I think I was like ripe for the picking when it came to being a pastor's wife. Right? I think I like, even though I remember saying this to Karl many times. I'm not going to be like other pastors' wives, and I'm not going to play the organ. I'm not going to play the piano, mainly because I can't. But I'm not going to do all these things. But yet, there was this submission that was already there in my personality from my family of origin, that it made that really easy for me to go, okay, I'm just going to be the submissive pastor's wife, if that makes sense.
Well, it is. I mean, it's. I feel like the church does that. Like the more lobotomized we are, the more we're praised for being compliant.
Yeah, it's
In
a
that,
survival
too.
instinct.
Yeah. I love you said that, Laura, that you didn't learn to play piano or organ, because I feel like that was one of the lessons I learned in church as well too. Like when they want you to do something, if you learned how to do that, like I remember as a youth pastor, they're like, "We'll pay for you to get a CDL license so you can drive the school bus," and I was like, "No," because I know I'm going to be driving that school bus for every time
Yeah.
they need something
Yeah.
on there, and
Yeah.
which is sad. I'm just like, no, I don't want to learn it because I know what you're doing here. I
So
don't,
you can be
Yeah.
duplicatable and duplicated off to
Yeah.
somebody else.
so you can be used. Yeah,
I think that's
for Jesus.
one thing, though. I mean, I was always in the nursery, always teaching like little kids Sunday school and things like that. And I think it was never, I don't remember it ever being spoken out loud, but it was implied for sure that that was my place in the church, was to be. And I was very resentful of that because, I mean, I might as well just keep my kids at home if I'm just going to have to watch my kids in the nursery, and then everybody else's kids on top of that. So.
Well, you're a woman. You're nurturing, okay? You need to be in a soft, nurturing role. Not with the...
Keep you
not
far
with
away
all-
from a pulpit where you could speak. We don't want you near a pulpit.
Yeah, we don't want you saying anything, and we also don't want to see... We don't want you seeing all the men sleeping in the pews while we're actually having the church service.
That was your job, JD, working in the sound booth.
Yeah,
See,
I always loved when I messed something up and the people sleeping looked back at me. I was like, go back to sleep, motherfucker. Like, don't look at me, you piece of shit.
So I feel like we've all experienced this, but like in these systems where we have our faith has evolved beyond the church or the tribe, where it kept leading us elsewhere. It has felt to me more and more, and tell me if I'm wrong, but like a mature Christian is always a threat to a system. Being mature in faith is always a threat to a system.
Yeah.
Thoughts, Karl?
I was.
You never got into trouble.
What's that?
You never got into trouble in
Oh
your
yeah,
journey.
I did. So I want to know, what's the alternative? What can we do? We still have a need for community. We probably always will, right? And so, what's her name? Britt Hartley says some people are always going to need religion. And you're not going to change that, right? But, I think we've talked about it before, but what would be a better way to do community where we're not just duplicating ourselves? How do you get comfortable with, first of all, being yourself, and then allowing other people to be themselves without, we all have I mean, because it's centered around this common purpose, this shared vision, and there's always talk of all that stuff. But the best things that have happened in history were things that were new, out of the ordinary, outside the box, that weren't even something we thought of before. How can we keep society on that path without creating a new duplicatable system, organization, groupthink, all those words we've used today to create more dumbasses, to go back to the previous segment.
I think it's always, and I think this is where the church gets things wrong. It's always like the church always, and not in capitalism too, moves towards scale and size for success. I don't know that we need organizations or groups to be as large as they are, oftentimes, because I think once you get to a place where you end up having to put in systems to be able to control the group, because there's not enough leadership or there's not enough connection to the people, like we're almost outnumbered. I feel like we've kind of gone wrong. I think that it's being able to find some sort of a share. I mean, going back to what Britt would have said, something I think she would also talk about shared myth with that. And so I think religion is a shared myth with shared shared beliefs behind that myth and shared practices. But I think that it is replicatable in other ways. I mean, we see fandom in other places where people are obsessed with Legos or Harry Potter or Marvel. And I think there's myths there that we can connect to. But I think that it has to be somehow like personal, and it has to be community oriented. I feel like if we get anything larger than that, it starts becoming abstract in our minds as humans, and then we have to put systems in place to control it, and then to replicate it.
I think there's also no way, like you were saying, to your point, like there's no way to connect when you have like a mega church. You're not going to know most of those people, and so it's not real community anyway. You're going to a concert, and like you're feeling the rush of adrenaline from doing something like a collective like ritual, right? Which is not bad, I don't think, but I don't think we need that as like ubiquitous in our lives as we do like to meet in small groups and like actually have like real, sometimes knockdown, drag out, but like deep, heartfelt discussions where we can be open with each other. You're not going to be open with, a church of 5,000 people probably. So I think we have to tack down to those smaller sizes.
Some of the churches I attended, especially one of the last ones I attended as not a pastor, they had small groups. They called them M3 or something. But they were very much orchestrated and weren't authentic, and you still end up not being able to share what you're really feeling. It was always based on the pastor's sermon, which Southern Baptists would revolt against that because a woman can't be discussing what the pastor's sermon was about, which started all the mess with them nowadays. You know what I mean? But and I always use the example of that Sunday school teacher at Big Lake, JD. She was like 90 years old, and she still taught a Sunday school class to men, which is weird for them. But when she came to a Bible study that I did, I asked her how she felt about something. Like, what do you feel? How do you struggle in that way? And she looked like I had just, raised her dress up and exposed her in front of everybody. It's like, I don't, she couldn't even speak, and because what am I talking about? I forgot.
Well, I mean, you're challenging the fact that I think that she could, it sounds like she could regurgitate a ton of information, but when you asked her anything like how is this integrated into your soul or your body at all, it was almost just like what
yeah,
why would it do that?
Might also be the other thing you were mentioning too, though, is that she may not have felt comfortable sharing it with a bunch of other men or people that she's been in the same church with but has never actually grown a relationship with.
Yeah,
possibly. I don't know. I think it could go either way.
Small groups are often inauthentic within organizations, right? If it's it's a few guys that that you have common interests or some, just that you're in the same area and you want to go have breakfast and talk about some stuff, I think that could be very beneficial. It can make you feel part of a group, right? But it's not orchestrated. It's not part of the machine. It's not. We don't have to minimize ourselves. We can be honest and authentic, just like this, I think. But even in this group, we might feel some constraint not to be too disagreeable or whatever, right?
I mean, I just want you to be proud of me, Papa. I just want Karl to be proud of me.
Yeah. Yes, my son.
Okay, thank you.
Second son. How old are you actually, Stuart? I have a feeling you might be 90 or something. And
That's
you
true.
just
That's true.
discovered a fountain.
If you want to do this game, let's do. I'm not going
to.
All right, let's do Price is Right. If you want to guess, Karl. Got it.
I always think
below or going over.
Like 40 or high 30. No, I know it's more than that.
Really?
But
I would have gone. I might have gone lower.
What do you say, Jay?
It's one more than our favorite president's number.
So 48?
Yeah.
So in Alabama, you could be my son, probably, right?
That's true. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Missouri.
My papa first held me when he was 10. Yeah.
Maybe I should use
About
Mississippi.
right.
Or it really doesn't matter. They're interchangeable.
Deep South is all pretty.
It's
deep
it's
in their
deep, yeah.
relatives.
I have relatives in the South, and so yes, I've traversed the areas and have seen the cities have been breeding and all of its marvels. But
is that I-20 that goes through there? It's
20 goes coast to coast.
Yeah. Or is it 30? No.
It's
10?
20.
No.
You're right. It's 20.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I drove along that going to Georgia, and it just smelled. The whole thing smelled. I think it was the paper plants or something.
Paper mills will smell.
Sting?
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't smell good.
No.
There's probably lots of good people. There's positives about the South, right? But religiously, there's a lot of stuff. Anyway.
No, you're
I'm
right.
way
Yeah,
off topic today.
No, but I think when we're talking about like ultimately, because you were mentioning this, Karl, like having groups or having purposes, or what do we even do? How do we gather? And I think part of the problem with religion and faith is that's the only thing we have in common with the people that we're hanging out with. Like it doesn't really, and we try to apply it to every area of their life, or somehow assume this applies to every bit of their life, and it doesn't, because we're just learning to memorize stuff and to regurgitate it to each other and pat each other on the backs because we all know the same things, and we do the same rituals. But I think to being able to get to a place where, in what matters beyond that, what matters in community, what matters to my neighbor, what matters, that's something that's just close and it's very, very local, and I think that way. Church allows us to bypass being humans in our community and make us feel like we're being good humans in our community without really actually doing anything at all. It also it lets us bypass even being connected to our community, because we're like, oh, we pray for them, or we look at our community, but we judge our community. We don't ever just get out and get to know people and get our hands dirty in the community, because it's scary. And because I think there's a lot of people out there that don't know what their faith really means. And I think going back to it, it's what we've kind of been dancing around is like the things that we know and we believe, like have those things been tested in our lives? Like has our faith, has it cost us anything? Like I would say mine has. Me following my faith has cost me plenty. Not in the way that like it would be preachy you'd see in a Christian movie. No, it's cost me plenty within churches and being around Christians more than anything.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about, that me following my faith, I have pissed off more Christians than I have pissed off non-Christians in this world. Whereas Christians somehow think that we need to be like, they walk into the world looking to be persecuted by something, or they're just being an asshole.
And the funny thing is what they consider persecution.
Yeah.
What they really mean by their
Preference.
persecution is just this little thing of someone disagreed with them.
Yeah.
And said, like I said to the lady the other day, I don't think happiness is important as contentment. And Paul talked about that. But just that challenge means that I'm persecuting her. Right. And so she's noble. And I can go back and tell the group, I was persecuted today. I stood up for the gospel or whatever, which really wasn't what she was doing or what I was doing or anything. So.
No, it is. I'll admit this recently too. I have succumbed to my worser angels, or my worst angel. I don't. But we have a Planned Parenthood in town, and every once in a while, I'll just get righteously pissed when we're driving by because you have people that'll be picketing it, and so I'll drive by and be like, yeah, fuck off, or say something clever like that.
Yeah.
But I know at that moment they're like, oh my God, I just got another jewel in my crown.
Right.
Yeah.
This is what I'm doing here, and I have to stop doing that because I'm giving too many jewels into too many crowns, and they haven't been fully earned.
They don't even make it fun. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
I don't know. But I think ultimately, like, having more of a mature faith and walking something out, it's not going to look homogenized. It's going to look weird. It's going to look different. I mean, I think It's about learning how to find people that you can just like sit in silence with, not always having to explain stuff, but you can still just be in fellowship and friendship, and we don't have to agree on everything or figure it all out, but we can figure things out together. I just think moving forward with what could it look like, it's going to look something that's going to be small. It's not going to look successful. I mean, it's cliche. Jesus hung out with 12 guys. I know it was more than that, but I mean, but it's not going to look the same everywhere else, and it's not going to be like multi-level marketing where you can replicate it and just keep it simple, stupid. Because if we keep it simple, stupid, we're only stupid.
Right.
In that scenario.
Yeah.
And then we're a dumbass. If we're going back to.
Yeah. Tie it all together, Stuart. There you go.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, because I think ultimately just, if our faith can't survive any questions, and if our faith can't if it's that thin, like we see people online, like losing their minds over, it was never faith to begin with. It was always just a different form of compliance.
And I was going to say, I don't think we can ask that with a lot of people. We don't even feel comfortable enough to ask the questions, let alone answer them. So it's like, if that's the case, then you're never going to get anywhere.
I think there's a basic thing that's been bred into us and cloned into us, or however you want to express that, that if we're not the same, then we're not good, And there's just still, maybe Gen, whatever we're in now, is going to help us with that, to say, I'm different, and I can be okay with that, and
I hope that for them, and that'll be a great accomplishment. My only worry is they'll be saying that, but they won't be literate anymore as well too, because
I think the next generation will save us is what every generation says. I think we all gotta figure out how to come together and not be so fucking stupid and petulant. We're such a petulant species. I was just gonna say this, like, all made me think of like my kind of like community thing that like I found has been good for me recently is, one, just escaping society sometimes and being by myself. But when I have to actually do the real community thing, is like just going on like boys trips, just going with like 4 or 5 buddies on a camping trip. And like most people, when they think of that, will not think of like constructive conversation, which most of it is not. It's mostly like dick and fart jokes. But usually like holy. Around like, yeah, exactly. But when like we get around the campfire and like, you eat and you're just hanging out, and like then that's when like when in the silence of like us just all sitting around like watching the campfire or like having like a private conversation here or there, then people start to say like, oh man, I'm fucking pissed off about it, and then they go into it and everyone just listens to them, and then we kind of like talk it out, and it's in a guy friend way where we may talk some shit, but it's like it's actual genuine conversation, and people talk about stuff, like have deeper conversations than I've ever had with them in any other setting. But those kind of things I think are good. That's kind of like the community that I'm content with, to use your word, Dad, currently, and probably a lot of times quite joyful with when we're together.
It's something deep in us that needs community, but I think it's also, I think my heart attack and so on is kind of solidified in me a little more. I am an introvert by nature, but it's also was kind of a deep revelation through my stroke and then my heart attack. Is I talked about this a little bit on the podcast about I'm here, I exist, I am. If you go to Scripture, that's what Yahweh and Jesus said. I exist. I'm here. I am. And finding contentment, I don't think it's giving up or anything, to just be content where you are. Be who you are, be where you are, and just be. And that's enough. And then when I work through some of those things, then I can be with the group, and then I can be more healthy in the group, because I've at least spent some time during the day by myself with my thoughts, with my wanderings and yearnings and all of that, and I've existed. And almost dying helps with that a lot. It helps kind of bring that into perspective. Right now I just want to breathe one time. Right now I'm just focused on having a regular heartbeat. Right now I'm just trying to eat better. Right now I'm happy with my situation, and I'm content where I am, right? So anyway.
No, Karl, I love how you said that, but like, because we do, like, that's it, things like that center us, and they give us perspective, because I feel like our lives are busy with a lot of nonsense and a lot of noise and just busyness for busy's sake, and I think that we can lose who we are in the process. We just become, it's a cliche, we become human doings, not human beings. We just keep doing to just really to stop us from slowing down and actually being quiet with ourselves, because we fear that. And I think then connect that with JD. I think it's like, and it's being able to, community is being able to find people to waste time with in a good way, where there's not a purpose. We don't have necessarily a goal to do this. And I think that's one of the most harmful things that Christianity has done to us too, is every person that we meet has to have a reason that we're doing this too. Like, they're all a mark. If we're going back to also like multi-level marketing, like, hey, they're another, let's put them below us so we can continue to build up in this. And we don't see people for who they are. What's going on with them? What's their story? What is all of this? No, it's just like, oh, they're sinners. We need to go fix them and then move to the next sinner. And it's dehumanizing, and we do dehumanize ourselves in the process.
It may be that, if we need the group too much, or we need the group to be a certain way, right? If that's too much, then the group loses its effectiveness. So be who you are, be where you are for yourself, but also just be there in the group, right? I don't need it to be a certain way. I don't need certain responses. I don't need everybody to agree with me. We don't need a common purpose, And I say that because those things get corrupted, right? And they get messed up. So when I can let the group be what it is, and I can be myself, then it's great. And JD, I think, has always had groups like that. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but he seemed to gravitate towards people who were unique and they were authentic.
Yeah, fucking weirdos. Yeah, those are my people.
I think
Strange motherfuckers.
I think BB and AS, all those people along in your life, and the guy in college, that helped you a lot, and even the kid that lived in the apartment that was African American. You had a lot of authenticity in those people in your groups. Maybe they were weird, but so are we, right?
Well, I mean, that's the funny thing I think it's exactly the good way, because I think if we're talking about conditioning and stuff, everybody's weird. Everybody's weird.
Yeah.
Everybody is weird, and we are all different. And the ones that act like they're not weird, the hardest are the ones that have been they've either conditioned themselves or they've been conditioned by others. And I think sometimes the reason that it's more fun to hang out with the misfits and the weirdos is because they know who they are to some degree, or they're not willing to prop up. Yeah, there's less of that going on. And I'm not saying it's perfect on the other end of it, but I think that there's more ripe ground for just having authenticity, as opposed to people that have already been processed, and then they are constantly looking at processing and
how can I process others.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good, Stuart. Good topic.
Amen. Okay.
Amen.